Darren has dropped.
I'm still here.
Are you still there? Sorry.
It's just that my camera's not working.
Yeah, and I see your name at the lower left corner. I don't see it in bold letters. That's why I thought you had left. So sorry about that.
It's okay.
Okay, I have 7:03, call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate you all being here tonight. We've got a bunch of things to discuss. First thing is approval of minutes. We have the minutes from our last meeting, which was on the 7th, but we also have the minutes from the public forum. So we'll take each of those separately, approve those. So I'll take a motion from someone to approve the 10-7 meeting minutes.
Hi, Thomas Golden, motion to approve the minutes from the October 7th, 2020 meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Steve Purcell, second.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, if not, we'll take a roll call vote. Josh?
Ed,
Yes?
Leone. Leone,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
thank you, the motion approved.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Next, we'll do the minutes from the 17th, this past Saturday, the public forum. Thanks, Josh, for sending those out. Appreciate it. Would someone like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I don't want to approve
I,
all.
Cleone.
Thank you. Go ahead, Cleone.
Oh, I, Cleone Mainville, approve the minutes from the, is it October 17th?
Okay, is there a second?
Hi, Thomas Golden, second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on the minutes? If none, then we'll do another roll call vote. Josh?
Ed,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
thank you, the motion was approved.
All right, thank you. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is public forum. I don't see that we have any citizens joining tonight.
The planning board meeting going on too, I think.
Is there? Yeah.
Broad
Okay.
Street project.
So we'll skip by this for tonight, for at least the beginning of the meeting. Somebody could join for the end. We'll wait and see. So now we'll go right into old business. We've got 3 items here that we want to discuss. We've carried over a few of these now for several meetings. The first item is the citizen survey. I think we're pretty much done with that now. So Tom, Cleone, or Steve, hopefully you guys have had a chance to kind of regroup as a committee, and no, you haven't. Okay, well, I hope tonight that we can kind of finalize where we are with this, and then sort of move forward with it. So Tom, can I ask you to speak to it?
Yeah, could you give me the ability to share my screen? Either you or Josh, I guess.
Josh, can you do that? I'm not sure how to do that.
I got it now.
Okay.
So one thing, so we haven't regrouped in part because we're still missing a piece of information, and I will get to that in a minute. But so from the last time we updated the group to now, we've had 14 additional responses. That did not significantly change any of the results. So I'm going to skip down a little bit to the ones that are more pertinent, not, how familiar are you with town charter? Generally speaking, 74 of the 114 total responses rated the performance as adequate in the town. The stipend question, so this would be the first one, the $3,000 stipend, it's a pretty dead split between yeses and nos at 40 and 45, no for 40, 45 for yeses. And then there was a decent chunk that did not have enough information to answer this question. There's some people in the open responses and on Facebook comment thread that said it's not clear as to whether or not $3,000 is a realistic amount or an appropriate amount. So I think that was a lot of the 26 response number. Or no, we had a couple comments that no, because either it was too high or it was too low. So I think that if we're gonna, as a group, talk about this, I have my opinions on that, but we can talk about that at the end.
Yep.
So number 6, this is the thing that we're still waiting on a piece of information from the town's IT department. When they reran the summary 2 Wednesdays ago, they can't get number 6 to populate correctly in the survey results. The new responses don't show up. That being said, even if yes, I do not have enough information, or I choose not to answer this information, got all 14 of the responses, it still doesn't even come close to touching the no response to should the town clerk become an appointed position instead of an elected position. So I don't know how about the group feels about continuing to wait and pester the DIT, the Information Technology Department, or if we are just good with no as the result of the survey. So I'm going to ask the group that question.
So the IT department's aware there's an issue, but they haven't been able to determine what the issue is. Okay.
But again, so this is the original response numbers. Those didn't change the second time they ran it, but the new responses don't show up in the columnar report that shows their responses.
And we're confident that this is the only question that is impacted by this issue?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know, in my opinion, even if you got 14 for any of them, like the yes, it's not gonna shoot the result into a different dimension in any way.
Right. Right. Yeah,
so
I agree with that.
Okay. I was hoping to get a response today. I've emailed several times, so I'm gonna leave it at that. But we will regroup as a group if you want, or we can talk about it as a large group. Number 7, should a recall provision be added to the town charter? Looks overwhelmingly yes, similar to what it was before. 72 of the total 114 responses were yes. The no's weren't even close. They came in at 10. So based on the survey, it looks like the town would like to see that.
Mhm.
Should town employees be allowed to serve on town committees? So this one is closer. When we look at more information through the open responses, there's a lot of people that say no, unless, or yes, assuming that that person is also a resident of a town. So meaning that if they are a town resident and a town employee, then they can serve on a town committee. But if they are a town employee but a resident of, like, I don't know, Braintree, they shouldn't be allowed to serve on a town committee. So there's a lot of clarification provided in the open responses. Number 9, should term limit provision be added? Yes, nearly doubles no, but there's a lot of people that don't have enough information. Again, with the open responses, we received some feedback on that what does that mean? That they wanted more clarity in the question. There are a couple people that straight out said this is a dumb question and proof the town's government doesn't know what they're doing. So I'm still a little bitter about that, but you know what you're going to do. And then 10, should wet signatures be changed? That's a dead split to me. It's a difference of 1 vote for between yeses and nos. And that's it for the quantitative questions. The open responses, the trend kind of continues with the frequency of specific areas. So going into the actual responses, the big things are communication, transparency, and accountability of town councilors, land development, both overdevelopment and underdevelopment, and just town government in general and how that functions seem to be the 3 biggest discussion points. Schools came up as well, but it was kind of a subsection of government management and finance. So that's where the survey is at the moment.
Okay.
So I guess there's 2 big questions. One, before the group meets again, is the larger group okay if we go ahead and come up with a formalized summary, even though number 6 doesn't have complete data because it's not going to change the outcome? I will scroll back up for everybody's benefit.
Okay, so there's a question on the table from Tom, whether or not the committee is okay with the subcommittee, I guess, producing a formal report out of this. Is that what you're saying, Tom?
Yep. Even though,
Summarization.
yeah. So, and my pitch for the summary would be the data point questions. So questions 3 through 10, which are the quantifiable ones, these ones would be in it. And then I would pick the top 5 most commented areas from the open responses that don't directly correlate to one of the quantitative ones. So we don't have a question about town councilor accountability directly in the quantitative ones. So one of the I was talking to a gentleman from Winthrop who's on their charter review committee. And what they're pitching is that their town councilors are required to have an open forum at least once a quarter during their term.
Mhm.
So put that kind of, like those kind of things, since they can't be quantified this way, as separate buckets for our group to talk about.
Yeah, yeah,
And pick the top 5 out of the open responses. So not to belittle the trash the trash one, I just, that one jumps to my head. There were 2 people that talked about it, about the transfer station. I'm not sure if we as a charter group want to spend a lot of time on adding something to the town charter related to the transfer station, but
right.
so pick I would say the 5 most talked about topics are the 3 most relevant to the charter would be the way I would look at the summary. And the subcommittee can talk about that as well, but maybe if the larger, all of us tell the subcommittee what you want, we can make it happen.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of good data here, so somehow we have to make sense of it and be able to utilize it in some, rational format. I like your approach because some of the open-ended questions, stuff about land development, to be honest with you, I know that's a hot topic in town, but I'm not sure the charter is the place where that gets addressed. That's really in, the zoning laws and the bylaws and things like that. So, but it's good information to pass along. I would like to be able to present this, or I think as a committee, we should present this to the town council in November. They've got 2 meetings. They've got one on the 10th and they've got one on the 24th. So if we can sort of package this in a summary format that we could deliver, some information to the council and say, this is what we've received and we're going to utilize this as we discuss our recommendations,
I do also think when we send this to town council, I do think redacting some information, like identifiable information, would be helpful, but I think they should get all of it. Like last name and the individual's IP address. And for those of you that were unaware, when you filled out the survey, your IP address is logged, so we can figure out, it is possible for anybody with that IP address to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
And
So
we mentioned it was anonymous, right?
I don't think we did, actually. So looking back at
Okay.
it, we never said it was anonymous. We actually asked for street name,
Their name and a street, okay.
and their house number on the street. So,
Yeah, but I don't think we're necessarily obligated to provide that unless
right.
someone specifically asked for it. Like if there was an issue in a specific precinct and the council wanted to know who in the precinct, maybe we could help them determine that, but yeah, I don't think we need to publicize all that, but so to get back to your question, do we want to take a vote on this at this point? Is that what you're looking for, Tom?
Yeah, can I make the motion? And that's a Josh question since I'm presenting it.
Sure.
All right. I, Thomas Golden, motion to approve the accepting of the data that we have from the town, the citizen survey as it stands today.
Okay, is there a second?
I, Steve Purcell, second that.
Okay, any further discussion?
I wanted to know when would be the appropriate place to kind of filter this data and match it up with, or to even see if it's worthy exercise, to match up these comments and, to the parts of the charter where they're relevant. So the last time we presented this data, I went through the exercise of matching it up with the article as well as the subcategory, so that when we get to that space, we could do a filter and say, okay, these are all the comments that are associated with this area. We are not I would have to do it again for this full survey, which I don't have a problem doing if it is something that we decide is a valuable exercise. It has to be done manually. So I wanted to see if we accepted it as it is now, does that prevent us from adding that other layer for the purpose of reviewing the charter
I
later
wouldn't think
on?
so, because we're just accepting the data. We're not accepting the current presentation of the data.
Got it.
Okay,
Basically, it's to say whether or not we're okay with not getting final answers for number 6, because it's not changing. Like
Right.
it won't change the result.
Right. And Cleone, I think it is valuable what you did before, so I think it should be done for the additional 14 responses that we got. You don't have to go back and start from scratch, right? Can't you just do it for the additional 14?
I have to do it from scratch.
And why is that?
So when Cleone added that stuff, the format of the document changed and the ordering of the cells changed. So we tried to run formulas the other day, and I did lookups, VLOOKUPs, cell comparisons, remove duplicates, like everything I could think of in the book, and I couldn't get it to work 100% of the time.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's too bad.
And I like to think I am overly proficient with this program, so I'm a little frustrated about that.
But we have a paper copy of it, of what
Yes.
Cleone did, right?
Yeah, but then we just have to what Cleone's saying is she has to manually go in and type that again.
Oh,
But so I do think that is like an amazingly valuable exercise, because what we can do from there, if Cleone does that, is we can then sort and count the 5 most referenced sections of the charter, and that's what we focus on.
right, yeah. Okay, so the motion to approve the data is on the table. And then, well, let's finish that then. So is there any more discussion on the motion?
One more question. The questionnaire that's going to the department heads, does it include that question? I don't remember, and I apologize for that.
What
The
question?
one that we don't have the data, question 6. Are we asking department heads to answer that question as well? Because then I'm wondering, now it's not 14 missing responses to that question. Will it be more significant when we get their input on that question if it is being asked to them as well?
No,
But then
I'm
it's
looking,
not the citizen survey, right? That's the larger bucket.
are you talking about the personnel survey questionnaire
Correct.
that Scott put together? No, that question is not on here. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
And as far as
Should it be?
the town, are you saying as far as the town clerk becoming appointed?
Right. Should that be on there, on the department head? Is there any value in getting their input on it?
I mean, we're asking them what's the one thing in the charter that you'd like to change? What are your thoughts about the charter? Are there any issues that you feel with the charter? I mean, we're asking more generic questions. If we asked specifically that one, then the question is, why wouldn't we ask a bunch of other, should we have stipends? Should we have, we ask a lot of these other questions that are on the citizen survey?
But even that's not relevant to the motion right now anyway, right? Like we can
Right.
still change that afterwards.
Okay, so if there's no more discussion on the motion, which is to accept the survey data as presented, then we'll take a roll call vote on that. Josh?
Ed,
Yes?
Cleone,
Yeah.
Steve,
Yes, sorry.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, great. Okay, so the next steps for this then will be for you to create the summary, the team, the subcommittee to create the summary, and then Cleone will go back and draw the correlation to the charter.
Yeah, we'll work on the logistics of that in the subcommittee.
Okay. Okay, great.
Because what may happen too, what I would like to propose, and I just want to put it out here in this forum, and then we'll discuss in the subcommittee, is that we need to capture the comments from the forum. And I wanted to just have one document where I can put, put those open-ended questions and just have the filter run for all of those things. So I guess, Tom, we would talk about the logistics of that, because I didn't want to have two separate places to assign the comments and feedback that we receive from citizens.
I mean, that's fine, but that's not related to the subcommittee, right? Like, that's a larger discussion. Like, the subcommittee had nothing to do with the public forums. So if you want to combine this with a new document, like, I'm cool with that, but that's not something the subcommittee was doing.
Right, okay.
So Cleone, your thoughts are to be able to capture the feedback that we got at the three forums in the same document that the citizen survey stuff is in? Is that what you're saying?
Right. Eventually, that's what I want, right? So that when I put the filter, we have one document that captures all citizen feedback. And that filter will allow us to assign that feedback to the particular article and subsection.
Okay, that's good.
So that's why I'm wondering if, I know that wasn't the, or charge under the survey committee, but I'll be looking to use that document to kind of centralize the feedback from the three forums.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Have one document with all citizen feedback, whether it's survey related or forum related.
Are you motioning
Right.
to have a new subcommittee to do that?
I don't think we need a subcommittee. The reason why I'm bringing it up here is because we mentioned that the next meeting of the subcommittee is around me creating the filters, and I don't want to create the filters twice. I just want to have the forum stuff and the survey and do it in one shot.
Yeah. So I think Tom, Cleone's going to do this on her own. She's going to, once she has a base document to work from, which is what the
Correct.
subcommittee will complete,
Okay.
then she'll add the forum stuff into that document.
I mean, yeah, that's fine. I just think you're going to get, we'll talk about, Cleone and I can talk about it in the subcommittee. I just think there might be a headache for you that I am foreseeing, but we'll deal with that when we get there.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. We don't want to get halfway down the road and find out that it's going to be more problematic for us, right? So, yeah.
That, and I just don't want there to be redundant feedback caught there. And we can chat in the subcommittee. I don't want to waste the large committee's time on that.
Yeah. See, I mean, the other thought that I had, Cleone, was that we would put any potential recommendations from the forums, we would tack them on at the end of the decision matrix that I had put together, that Excel spreadsheet. We would just add them at the bottom, and the source would be public forum. So that's another thing to consider, whether we use that or we use the survey document. Why don't you think about that a little bit more and talk amongst yourselves, and if you want to add me into the discussion, that's fine. But I mean, ultimately, I think the decision matrix is going to become sort of our guiding tool as we start to discuss and make recommendations.
Well, that's what I was getting at with the redundancy or duplicity. I think the document kind of existed, but I didn't want to say it.
Okay. I mean, yeah, the work's got to get done. It's just a question of where does it occur?
Well, so my thought would be, so in the decision matrix, I don't want to jump ahead in the agenda, would be exactly what Cleone is talking about, and it's kind of half started for her, right? Like, in one of those columns, where did the recommendation come from? Citizen survey, public forum, or previous whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's your tick, it's just right there. So she doesn't have to do all the work to create a new thing.
Yeah. Yeah, Cleone, it might make more sense to put that into the decision matrix. Only because we're
I
gonna-
don't understand. So the decision, and is this the right place to talk about that, or,
we can move it
because I don't
down.
understand the statement?
Hold on.
Another agenda item on the,
Let me
Just-
open the decision matrix, including, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I didn't want to. So in the decisions, share screen, chuckles. Okay, so in the decision matrix, in this doc, you guys can see the decision matrix, right?
Yeah.
you can see
Yeah,
it.
so like inserting a column here of like source this time, citizen survey, open forum, blah, blah, blah. And then you put in here, like another column here for the section of the charter. Because the article of the charter is already here, right? So Ed already went through and did that. So we would just tack this stuff onto the bottom and add a new column here. So the 20, God damn it. Source here, and then it would be like citizen survey or open forum, kind of like in
So
that
in
column.
recommendation, so under recommendation, that would be the comments
Correct.
received
Yes.
from the survey.
Correct.
And how will they get there eventually then? Because then, yeah, this makes sense, because what I'm looking to do, I focus a lot on process, and as I go through my head how we're going to review the charter, like section by section, I wanted an easy way to just pull up, okay, what are all the comments that are associated with this section that we're currently reviewing? So you're saying that the recommendation column will include all the open-ended as well as the quantitative data.
Correct.
How will it get there?
So that's what we're going to talk about in the subcommittee, going into the open results and taking the
Okay.
ones that are most discussed and putting them over here. Because the recommendation in this open response to add a provision for the transfer station to the town charter, like there's one person that wants that.
Correct.
I don't think that's necessary to make it over here to be discussed ad nauseum.
Okay, that's exactly what I was hoping, that we had a document that would categorize those comments, so that what you're saying, that this will indeed capture that. And for those comments that don't bubble up to the top of importance, we'll have a mechanism to forward it to those who can make a decision or act on, or consider them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think in that's just we're going to send the survey results, like this document or workbook, whatever, to town council as part of the presentation, and then they have it, and their response, like I would give it to them to disseminate to whoever it needs to be.
Right. That's fair enough. And so the comments from the forums, which I will get from the minutes, will also be populated in column A.
Right, like that's where I would think they would be most
Yes.
well put, because this is becoming our
Perfect.
large succinct document.
Yeah, and you
And
can,
rather than you
see,
making a separate document that's similar to this, but not quite the
Exactly.
same, keeping it in the
Mhm.
same format makes it easier, so we don't run into that redoing the manual process again later.
yeah, and you can
Good
see
call. Good catch on that. Yep.
the column B, which is the actual article. Those are in numerical sequence right now. So that if we were discussing a particular article, we could just scroll down here and say it was 3-2. We could see if there was anything already here for 3-2 or not. So the thing is, I think it's going to have to be manually populated in here, Tom. Are you thinking of being able to do it some automated way?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. If you can do that, that would be great.
And so I want to just be clear, just like what Tom said, you're going to put there's going to be a column with the article and the section. We just filter, everything comes up associated with that perfect.
So, and here would be the difference, right? So like in this document, rather than adding the columns to the left for each one of these, so town council, communication, is there a section of the charter? I would put it in rows 1 and 2 and bump those down, because then everything underneath that, we can delete the blank cells through you go to data, delete duplicates. And then everything under town council, everything under library trustees will populate right there real quick.
Yeah.
And that way you're only doing it I think this is 16 times, not even now. You only have to do it 15 times instead of the 114 times.
Sounds good.
So it should streamline it exponentially.
Okay, so I think we've ended the discussion on the survey for now. Is the subcommittee clear on what it needs to do now?
Yes.
And then Cleone, when you've got a final, well, I guess you're going to talk about this in the subcommittee, how she's going to incorporate the forum information in as well, right?
Well, so
I mean,
that's not
once it
going
gets
in
to
this
the
doc-
matrix, yeah, once it gets to the matrix, then I will do my part. Yep.
Because the
Okay.
open forum stuff can go right to the matrix. It doesn't need to get attached to the citizen survey document.
That's right. You can just add it to the bottom. It can, yeah. In fact, Cleone, you could start doing that tomorrow if you wanted to do that. If you just go right to the bottom and just start adding recommendation by recommendation. And you could actually add a source under, see where that, it says source and there's 4 different sources there. You could
Yeah,
add,
we'll be adding forum, right?
yeah, you could, if you want, I can add a blank column for you and call it forum and then you'll have it there.
Mhm.
Can I
Mhm,
actually make a
mhm.
recommendation instead of adding a column under instead of adding a column under 2020 CRC?
Yeah.
Put it there and say open forum, citizen survey, and keep it in that column rather than adding a column.
That's a good point. And so, yeah, we could just have it be a drop-down menu, and then I just click on forum.
But Tom, that 2020 CRC column is meant to indicate our specific committee's recommendations.
Oh.
But we don't have any, right?
Not yet, but it's there because that's we're gonna populate our recommendations there.
Okay.
So we don't want to use that for another purpose right now. We're gonna have to add another column if we want to capture the forum.
I think what Tom is saying is that under that, you can choose committee, forum. It's a drop-down menu, right? So
Yes.
it'll maintain the integrity of that column. You'll just be able to have these subcategories just with that drop-down menu.
I have to see what you're talking about. I'm having trouble visualizing it.
I'll put.
Tom,
I'll put
can you put
together
it in
like
now?
A
Okay,
fake one.
yeah.
And then we'll invite you to the subcommittee, Ed. And show you.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
And this is a shared document, right? We have it as a shared, or do we just have an attachment? And I apologize for losing track of what kind of,
So it's just an
access we all
attachment of
have
an
to
email.
this.
So that's something else we should probably talk about is
Okay.
having it as in a central repository like Google Sheets, so that we can play with it in there and anybody can access it at any time. Just don't screw it up.
right?
You can only one person can check it out at a time. Is that?
I mean,
All of
no,
us.
anybody can at the same time.
We got to
The
control.
security is not as strong in Google though, but
Yeah.
I don't know if
Somehow we have to control updates to this because this is going to be critical. We could get so out of sync on this quickly that it would drive us nuts. Let's talk about we don't have to do it here, but let's think about the best way to do version control on these documents, and also how to protect the data. But it's certainly right now. I think I've got the most recent copy of this.
Yeah, this is the one you sent out the other day that's sitting in
Right.
front of the group.
Yeah, was that dated? Yeah, it's dated 10/8. So that's the most recent. We can think about how we want to manage version control and discuss it, I guess at our next meeting or through email. Okay, so that's it for the citizen survey. Scott? I'm going to move on to the personnel questionnaire.
All right.
Thanks for sending that out. Hopefully, everybody had a chance to look at it. What I'd like to do is open the floor up for any comments or questions. The goal is to take a vote on this tonight so that we can then discuss distribution and move forward with it. I have one minor comment, Scott. On questions 13, 14, and 15, they all but start with, do you believe the current government, oops, hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, my screen went blank. That's weird. Do you believe the current government provides? And I just thought maybe you should say government structure. Government, just the current government provides effective means for the citizens to voice their concerns. I mean, is there a specific thing about the government? Is it the structure? Or is it the operations of the government, or?
No, I think structure is a good word there.
We're just trying to provide additional clarification. If everybody agrees, I don't know. Cleone, you're on mute.
Can we put it up on the screen or no? Does anybody have it to share?
Give me a second here. Okay, it's not letting me share screen right now.
I just gave you permission.
Oh.
Can everybody see that all right?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
So did you already put structure in there?
I did that as you were saying it.
Oh, you are fast. Well done, Scott.
Yeah, I hit space a few too many times while I was trying to unmute myself here.
So other than those three questions, adding structure, I think this is great.
I was wondering, is it possible, don't hate me, if this can be disseminated as a survey so that we don't have to aggregate this information manually? And Tom, since you worked with the IT, how you have a little bit more experience.
So you're going to have to
And
manually aggregate it anyway, because they're all open-ended. None of these are quantifiable questions.
Good point. Good point. Good point. But at least we can send it out. Would it be more efficient to?
Absolutely
I guess it'll be
not.
sent out electronically anyway. It doesn't matter.
I mean, if you could send it out in a Word or Excel document, that'll be the easiest. Which I'm pretty sure, Scott, that was your plan, right?
Yeah, my plan was Word, but if you think Excel is a better format, then I can
No,
move
Word's
everything
fine.
Word,
over.
yeah, and this is Word right now, so yeah. Any other comments on this?
Ed, I will mention, I know, wait a minute, forgot I'm sharing my screen here. There were a few comments in the email. There was an email chain after I sent this out. There were a few comments that came out. I forget who it was. I just wanted to say, if there was a comment in there, you were looking for a response from me, I deliberately did not respond because of the open meeting law. So if there are any comments that went out in an email, if you could bring them up now, that would be great.
I think if I recall, and I'm trying to I think it was Janet, and she's not on the call tonight. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Yeah, that reply all function is the most common way that people violate the open meeting law.
Say that again, Scott?
The reply all on an email, that's the most common way that people violate the open meeting law. So if one of us sends out an email to the group and then somebody else responds, another person responds, and then it just keeps growing. And once you have a quorum of people that have responded to that email, that then constitutes an open meeting law violation.
So a question. So when I asked, I replied all and said, can we get the organization chart? Was that a violation? The org chart?
No, I think that's more just seeking information.
Okay, I just wanted to be
that
clear
wasn't
on
something
that.
we were deliberating, but if it was, something along the lines of something that we need to deliberate here,
Okay.
these questionnaires that we're putting out, or when we get into the more substantive issue of actually making recommendations for changes to the charter, that's really where it gets
Yeah,
it's hairy.
Sorry to interrupt you, Scott. If you guys want, and I've kind of faced this issue a few times, if you want to send things to me first, and then I can distribute to the committee, that way if somebody does start a reply all, I can kind of nip it in the bud. It happens quite often. And I have found that if it's coming from me, it doesn't tend to get as many reply alls because it's somewhat specific with my Tom email that way. If that makes sense for you guys.
Okay, thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
So I found Janet's response. I'll read it to you. It says, I may be a minority on this one, but on number 12, could one of the options be none? The way it's worded implies they would respond to at least one of the categories, and if they don't answer it, would it mean they don't think any of them require change, or did they miss the question? I feel that maybe none should be added if that makes sense to everyone.
All right. It does make sense. I would change, instead of doing it that way, I would recommend, here, I'll just type it in. Just add if any after which areas.
Which areas, if any, do you believe? Yeah, that's fine. And if they have no response, they'll just leave it blank.
Yep.
Okay, that's good. Probably want to insert a line after that colon above it.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, that's good. I think she was the only one that responded, Scott, at least on my email.
Okay.
And Scott, the spacing on the second page between the number and the questions, it looks like we lost space. Yep. Starting from 10 to actually on the first page.
All right.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
Scott Pitto will make a motion to approve distribution of the questions for the department heads.
Okay, is there a second?
Darren Boston, second.
Okay, is there any discussion? I guess one question I have is that right after this vote, we are going to talk about the distribution. And we're saying right in here, department heads. which is what we originally had talked about, but there may be a change to that. We may send it to more than just the department head. So do we want to just modify that to say questions for Bridgewater?
Key
Department
officials?
representatives.
How about key officials?
Steve?
Did we already vote for this to go to the department heads only?
No. I don't think we did. But maybe we did. I have to go back and look. You think that we,
I think we voted for one to go to the citizen survey, and then we decided that this one would be a department heads.
okay,
When did we vote for that? Like
don't
in
know.
this meeting or previous?
It was created the same time that we created the citizen survey.
And we voted on distribution. Oh, 'cause it
Not
says
distribution,
department
but
heads.
this questionnaire would be for the department heads. I don't remember how it was worded, but that was,
hey, Josh, is there any easy way for you to determine if we already voted? That this would
If you
go
can
to-
tell me, which meet or the date, I can look it up right now, but otherwise, not something super easily found.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look through all the meeting minutes to determine that. I can't remember. Okay. Well, I mean, if we already voted that this would go just to department heads. I'm trying to think, Scott, maybe you can help me with this procedurally. If we already vote, we have to verify this, but if we already voted that this would only go to department heads, then it will go to department heads, but we can choose to send it to other people if we would take another vote, correct?
We could do a motion to reconsider the prior vote. That motion would have to come from someone who voted in favor of the prior vote, which I believe it was unanimous. And then it would be a 2/3 vote you have to have a vote to reconsider, and then a new motion, and then another vote.
Okay,
And I believe it's a 2/3 requirement to reconsider the prior vote. But you might want to check that little book I gave you.
And we're not sure if we even made the vote, right?
Right.
That's specific. So, the reason why this is coming up, when I asked about the organization chart, and it's not necessarily to provide this questionnaire to every single employee. Maybe a middle ground would be to do a random sampling depending on how many staff people are in a particular department. Because as I look at the first question, how do you have the resources and support to be efficient in the exercise of your responsibility? That would be something that I would be curious to know about from an employee standpoint. It may be a very different, or it may be the same, but that was the rationale behind wanting to see that org chart. But without it being too burdensome on us, maybe a random sample. So for those who said, I got one, but I didn't get one, it's just, there's a lot of random sampling apps online. We would just put the number of employees, have the computer spit it out, and those are the extra additional folks that would get this questionnaire.
okay. So we have a motion on the table to approve this questionnaire as discussed. I think that given the potential that we may want to send this beyond the department heads, I think we need to revise the title in this document. And maybe it just says questions for Bridgewater personnel, town personnel. Leave it more generic, and that way we can send it to the department heads, and we can also send it, or we create two versions. One version that we vote on this version tonight for the department heads, and then we have another version which is pretty much exactly the same, only we change the title. We have a motion on the table that we need to vote on, unless it gets retracted.
I could amend the motion and just remove the reference to department heads until we figure that out. Just approve the questions as they're written.
Okay, and then if we come up with a new title, do we have to re-vote on it again?
No. I think we're getting a little too in the weeds procedurally.
Okay, well,
I like it the way it is. I
We can
think
just approve it as,
Original plan.
you know, if you want me to, if the committee wants me to remove department heads from the top of the document and just replace it with key officials, that's fine. I mean, I just did that.
Can we do personnel instead of key official? Because then we'd have to define what key officials are.
Yep. Yeah, but then we get into the question of, does it go to all personnel, or if not, why,
but
who's,
that's a separate question, though. That's a distribution question. We're just trying to approve
Right.
the questionnaire. And we want to make sure that the title on the questionnaire represents what we're going to do with it. So I kind of like the questions for Bridgewater personnel.
okay, I'm fine with that.
Bridgewater town personnel.
And I'm perfectly fine with that as an amendment to the motion. So
Yeah. Okay,
if there's no objections, I'll retract my original motion and make a motion to approve the questions for distribution to Bridgewater town personnel.
for a second.
And well, I believe, who said, Darren, did you second my original motion?
Yes, I second it.
Okay, would you agree to retract your second?
Yes,
All
I
right.
agree to track the second.
All right, great, thank you.
Josh, did you get all that?
Yes.
All right.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, Josh, we'll take a roll call.
Ed,
Yes.
Leonie,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes,
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you, guys. All right, moving to number 3 under old business. This is really to now continue with the discussion about the distribution of the questionnaire that we just voted on. I had sent out a list of key officials. Now, many of these are department heads. Some of the departments don't actually have department heads. So what I did was I went with the people that were responsible for the different sections of that area. So if you have it, I don't know if you have it in front of you. I don't know if I can share it because I don't have it on this laptop. I have it on my other computer. But there was the planning department. There's no director of planning. But underneath planning, they have a buildings person, they have a plumbing and gas person, they have an electrical person, and a weights and measures person. So those 4 individuals, I thought, should get the questionnaire. Under public works, there is no public works director, but there is an engineering person, there's a roadways person, a transfer station person, and a water and sewer person. So those 4 individuals, I think, should get the questionnaire. Everybody else is pretty much either a director or a head of that area. So if I add them up, let me just see. there's 20 individuals listed on the sheet that I put together. And those 20 individuals represent the, kind of the senior top level people of each of those areas. So if we want to expand that list, we should, and I understand Cleone's wanting to do that, and I think there's some value in doing that. Whether it's a random sample or whether we actually go through org charts and try and pick people out. I don't know what criteria we would necessarily use to pick people out. The largest departments are obviously the police force and the fire department. So we may decide, for example, I don't know, how do we do it? We want to look at lieutenants and sergeants and patrolmen.
So the way I've done it when I was, I had to monitor local governments was that once you get the org chart, you just assign the staff a number and you just determine beforehand of this group, we want to, a representative sample size. You just pick 5 and then it'll generate, you just pick it'll generate a random sampling, you pick the first 5. But it wouldn't be, especially for the large departments, it wouldn't be everybody. It would be too cumbersome. But that's how we would do it. So, but with the org chart, you would assign each person just a number: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it's 5 employees, it's just 5 numbers, and you say whatever a good sample size would be. It could be 2, it could be 1.
Yep. Okay. So I did send an email to Mike Dutton today asking him if the org charts were available online somewhere. And if they are, could he point me to them? And if not, could he supply them for all the town departments? I don't know when I'm going to hear back from him. So I guess the question in my mind is, do we need to take a vote on whether or not we, use the list that I sent out, or do we expand the list, or do we want to go further than the list?
Ed, I apologize. I have to drop off at 8. I have
Yep.
something I have to do for my job.
Okay, Darren.
Sorry.
Thanks. Yep, no problem. So we still have a quorum. So I'm interested, Steve, Tom, and Scott, what your thoughts are on the distribution of the questionnaire.
This is Steve. I would like to keep the distribution to the list that you had sent out earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm of the same mindset here. I think we might get a little bit too in the weeds. The charter itself is a very, one over the world type of view. And I'm concerned that this committee might get too far down into the weeds of the operational side, that we may be crossing over into some of the areas that are strictly the town manager's realm.
I would agree. Like, I think a lot of stuff that's evident in the survey too is administrative code, not charter specific, because it's so broad in the charter.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's always a risk when you do this kind of a thing. If you're going to end up just getting a bunch of people using it as an opportunity to, what's the word? Not bad mouth, but you know what I'm saying? They just want to vent. They use it as an opportunity to vent, and whether it really affects the charter or not, we have to make that determination. I think there's some value in it. Don't get me wrong. But I think there's also a time factor involved here. That really has to do with how quickly we can get org charts, how quickly we can get through them and determine how further to go with it. And then also on the back end, we're going to have to go through each of these responses manually from the Word docs that we get, and then summarize the information that way. So there's going to be a manual effort on the backside too. So if we talk about 20 right now and we want to add more, it's just going to create more work for us. So Cleone is, I mean, I think what you're suggesting has value to it. I don't know if it makes sense right now for us to do that. So we can take a vote. Is anybody want to make a motion to vote on it? On just using the 20 list that I sent out, or do we want to expand it?
A motion to use the town personnel interviews list that you sent out as our distribution list.
Okay, is there a second?
Scott Pitta second that motion.
Okay, any other discussion on this? Okay,
I've
Josh,
got I got a question here. So is there no head of inspectional services? Because with the list,
no, there's no one person that oversees all of the inspections. There's buildings and zoning, and then there's plumbing and gas and electrical. Each of them is totally separate. And then, of course,
because I know the health inspector, I mean, we're going back a decade, but there used to be one person who was over the inspectional services, I believe.
yeah, that was many moons ago, Scott. The health department is only 2 people right now, or the Board of Health is only 2 people. And Eric Badger is the only, he's the health inspector, that's it. Which blows my mind for a town of 28,000 people. We have 1 person as health inspector. All right, any other comments on the motion? Okay, Josh, we'll take a roll call.
Ed,
Yes.
Leonie,
No.
Steve,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay. All right, so the next step is, I think that the way the distribution should happen is I should send it through email. I can get all of the town emails for all of these individuals. And I think what I'll do is, I think it should come from me as the chair of the committee. I'll draft an email, sort of giving a summary of what we're doing, what we're hoping to get using this questionnaire, and ask them to reply back to the email via, they can update the Word doc with their responses. I'm sure everybody has Word to do that. How much time, first of all, do you all agree with that approach? And then secondly, how much time do you think we should give them to respond?
I agree with that approach. This is Steve Purcell, and I believe 2 weeks is sufficient.
So
I
would
agree as well.
I would say you should get a response within 3 business days and have 2 weeks to complete it. Like acknowledgement that they got it. And then say, we would like it within 2 weeks of you getting it. Can you let us know that you got it? That way, if they don't get it, we're not sitting here killing 2 weeks and realize, oh, it went to their junk folder or whatever.
Okay. That's a good point. So ask them to respond back that they've received the questionnaire. And then in the note, I'll say, we're hoping to get these back by, let's see. So I can probably get this done by the weekend.
What email do you use, Ed?
Well, I'll use my personal email, Gmail.
I mean, because Outlook allows you to tag a read receipt as well as just a receipt. So I was just curious if you have Outlook. Gmail may have it. I just don't know. I don't use it in that way. So
Yeah.
that might save you the hassle because you'll see you'll be able to see if they even opened it.
Okay, I'll look at that to see if that's an option that I can turn on or off in Gmail. It's return receipt. I mean, if not, I think some of these individuals, I think the administrative assistants go through their emails. So it's the administrative assistant that's going to open it and read it. So he or she will be able to hopefully get back to me and say, yeah, we've got it. And, think I should also ask them if they can respond back. Oh, we'll give them a date. And if you cannot respond back by this date, please let us know. Or let us know by what date you can. Some of these people might be on vacation or whatever, but what do you think is a good date? If I can get this sent out, say, by the weekend. So you guys were saying 2 weeks? So maybe by November
November 6th?
6th, Friday, November 6th? Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. Everybody agree with that? November 6th?
Yeah.
That
Okay.
works.
Do you want to see my my email before I send it out? If I type something up and just send it out to everybody? I guess that's conducting business because I'm going
I
to
don't
ask.
think that's necessary.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Ed, you're the chairperson. Like, you're not going to tell them that this is a waste, like something stupid.
Technically, I guess I'm not supposed to do is send something out and ask for your feedback on it.
Right.
So we'd have to have another meeting just to review my email. If you guys trust me, then, you know.
You
Yeah.
need a motion to approve your authority. Would that make you feel better?
Nice sense of humor, Tom.
Well, we did that for the survey committee. I think, Scott, you did it, that we made a motion to just let us do what we needed to do.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't think that's necessary for Ed to simply send out something we've
I
already
agree.
approved, though.
Okay. All right, that's good. I'll just take care of that and send that out and we'll be on our way. And then as we start getting them back, we can talk about, you know, I guess at this point I have no, since they're going to come back to me, I'll start consolidating them as they come in. I'll create a master doc and just start cutting and pasting and putting everything in under the questions. All right, so I think we're good on the questionnaire then. Thank you all for that. Moving to the next item is under new business, is just maybe having a general discussion about how we're going to start to make our recommendations on the charter. We talked earlier about the fact that, you know, we're going to use the decision matrix as sort of our baseline tool to do that. I sent out an email, I think last week, with 5 documents for each of you to start familiarizing yourself with. 2 of them were the marked up charters from the 2014 CRC and for the Rules and Procedures Committee. A couple of the reports that came out in the decision matrix. I'm open at this point to hearing any thoughts or any recommendations that you guys might have on how we're going to structure our discussions, because we really, you know, we have 2 meetings. We only have 4 meetings left now between now and the end of the year, which really is not a lot of time. And we really have to start getting into the details pretty soon. So any opinions, any thoughts on how we want to attack this?
This reminds me when I served as chair, a chairwoman for this trial. And what we did do at the time was that we went around, and for areas that we didn't have a comment on, we just skipped it. So in thinking about that, can we just have like an assignment, right? Read, you know, this section, we come to the meeting with our notes. And I think what you guys did the last time was like line by line or whatever section. And then we would go do a round table and say, what are your thoughts? What are your recommendation? And then we could do a cross-reference to the matrix, which will pull up the comments, both from the citizen, the forum, and the town heads. So that's something that came to mind for me.
Nice.
I'm not married to it, though.
Oh, I like that. That's good. So an example might be, so for our next meeting on the November 4th, we would say everyone needs to read Article 1. I mean, Article 1's a short article, I don't know. So everybody should be able to read Article 1. And our goal on that meeting is to thoroughly discuss and come up with any recommendations for Article 1.
Right, and then we would reference all the other input as well, in addition to our own.
Good, okay. It'd be so
I
much
like that
better if
idea.
we could meet face to face in a room. Oh. Because you could just, everybody could have a binder and you could bring your binder and everybody would have the documents right in front of them. It's so hard now. I mean, what I do, I mean, I have a desk here. You see, I keep looking to the left. I have my desk with all my paper documents all lined up so I can reference them quickly. But I don't know that everybody has that, you know, has that option to do that.
I mean, I'm electronic, so I have two screens and I just kind of
Okay.
flip through.
Well, that's good, but if we're going to be referencing, say, 4 or 5 documents as we have these discussions, it's going to be a challenge to, you know, as we're looking at a specific article and we say, okay, well, what did the CRC recommend for this, and what did the other group recommend, and what did anybody from the forum chime in on this one? So we're going to be able to have to look at multiple things while we're talking.
I do like Cleone's idea of everybody reading one article at a time, coming together to discuss it, and you know, evaluating that way.
Okay. In some cases, obviously, it will be subsets of an article because some of them are pretty lengthy and going pretty in depth. So yeah, it might be sections of an article. Anyone else want to comment on your thoughts about how we should attack this?
I'm on Cleone's team on that one.
Okay,
Yeah, I couldn't improve on that idea.
all right. Okay, then why don't we trying to think about our next meeting. Do you think it makes sense to just take a stab and use that approach for Article 1?
I think that sounds good.
Yes, and it's a short, easy article, so it's a good guinea
Yep.
pig.
Yeah, I mean, what's in there is some grammatical changes and some definitions, pretty much, that's it. So it'll be easy. If you feel like reading ahead and getting into Article 2, I mean, maybe we can cover 2 articles. Articles 1 and 2. Why don't you prepare for that? And then we'll see how far we get. At least we'll probably trip over ourselves, but we'll be able to see how we feel about the process.
And for next meeting, we should probably come with an idea about which articles we'll combine and create that timeline, right? We know when we want to end how many articles, which one is going to be more controversial. And I think in the beginning, someone had proposed the low-hanging fruits first. So we may not necessarily be going through the articles in order, especially with what Tom's done. He has filtered through what are the hot topics. So also being open to reviewing them out of order.
Okay, yep. Yeah, I'm thinking that the decision matrix now, we may want to add a column there that says whether or not it's going to go through the special act or go through the, I'm drawing a blank here. Oh, I'm terrible here. What were the 2 options that we were going to use for getting these through the citizens?
Like not the election portion. Is that what you're
Yeah,
thinking of?
Yeah, the first option was going to be, oh, what the heck is that called? I can't even, just drawing a complete blank on it.
The home rule?
No, the home rule was the special act. That was where the controversial items were going to go. We're going to have separate ballot questions. But the first one, which was the quick and dirty 30 days. Hold on a minute. I got my presentation here. This is terrible. That's what happens when you're over 60. The amendment process. Remember, we talked about having a bundle article for all the miscellaneous changes, and then we said maybe the definitions in Article 1 would go in this. So maybe we should have a column in the decision matrix that says, or 2 columns, a check mark under the amendment process. Is this change going to go through the amendment process, or is it going to go through the special act process?
And I would suggest a drop-down menu again, 1 column with the check mark for either or. And that's a great idea, because then we could just filter for that and then be able to focus on that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, well, let's, I'm not sure we need to vote on this, but why don't we just say for our next meeting, everyone's going to get up to speed on Article 1. Read those 2 red line. There's a red line and a blue line document that I sent you that contain the recommendations from both the CRC and the Rules and Procedure Committee. Let's read Article 1 and Article 2 and come prepared to at least start walking through them. Okay?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right, and the other item here under new business is I'm feeling like we probably should make an update to the town council. And I mentioned earlier, they've got 2 meetings in November, the 10th and the 24th. I'm wondering if the 10th is probably the better of the 2 dates, only because I don't, the 24th, when's Thanksgiving this
The
year?
26th.
Yeah. Maybe what I'll do is I'll call Sean George, the council president, and just say, look, we'd like to get on your agenda for November. What makes more sense to you? We'll give a brief presentation, primarily on our data gathering efforts, because that's really where our focus has been over the last couple of months. We can provide them with a summary of the survey results, and we can also talk to them about the questionnaire and any status that we have on that. I'd also, offer up to the subcommittee, if any of you on the subcommittee want to make that presentation.
Oh, I'll do it, Ed.
You will?
Of course. For you, anything.
I just want to give everybody an opportunity. I don't want to be the one doing all the presentations. So I don't mind doing it, but if somebody else wants to do it, I'm happy.
I'm happy to do it unless somebody else wants to, but I don't mind doing it.
Okay. Well, maybe what I can do then, Tom, is I can help you work on framing out the preso. How's that?
That's fine. You just tell me how long it needs to be and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, I would say normally 15 minutes, which, 2 minutes per slide. That's
Easy as pie.
so like seven or 8 slides.
So here's what I would recommend. I will put it together, the subcommittee. We're going to meet sometime next week. I'm going to try to set that up. I will run it with them and then give it to you and you can check it out.
Yeah, and you can use one of the ones that I've used, the framework, so you keep the same,
Wait.
format of the preso. Do you have a PowerPoint version of the ones that I've had or not?
I'm sure somewhere in the email
If
world.
not, I can send one to you, because normally I send them in PDF format, but if you want the source, I can send you the source too.
All right.
Great. All right. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. All right. Any other comments on new business other than what we've already chatted about?
Yeah. Can we put it on the agenda that next meeting we will come up with that timeline around the articles and the order that we will review them?
So the timeline for recommendations, really, right?
Yes, and we have to be conscious of the fact that we're waiting for the questionnaire. So.
Yep, that's right. Yep. Okay. So the next item was public comment. I don't see that anyone has joined. So we'll move beyond that one. Action items for the next meeting. I just took that one down, Cleone. So we want to come up with a timeline for recommendations. Is there anything else we want to do for the next meeting regarding the survey, or we're pretty much done with the survey right now, right? Other than you guys are going to do a summary.
Yep.
So are you going to have that ready for the 4th? That's our next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have that on the old business. So that'll be a survey summarization. Okay. Anyone else have any other additional action items for the 4th? Okay. Again, our next meeting is the 4th at 7 p.m. So thanks, guys. This has been a great meeting. I really appreciate it. We've got a lot done, and the best is yet to come. Thank you for your help. Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Before we motion, I have a question. This is an open meeting law question. Once we make the motion to adjourn, can Steve, Cleone, and I stay on and just figure out when next week we can meet, like logistic wise?
Yeah, you can discuss scheduling.
All right.
Scheduling is
So
perfectly
Cleone,
fine
Steve,
to do
stay after.
through email. It's just any discussion to any items that are being emailed. That's where it gets bad.
Okay. So my
Okay.
request to Cleone and Steve is once I make someone makes a motion to adjourn, that you just hang on for 5 minutes and everybody else hangs up if we can.
Easy.
Okay.
With that, I will motion to adjourn the meeting.
All right.
A second.
I, Cleone Beanville, second.
Okay. Great. All right. Josh, roll call?
Ed,
Yes.
Leonie,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting is adjourned.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.